It has come to my attention that a lot of people have zero clue how a lot of hidden entrance tactics and redstone cool bits work. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to do a lot of that, because boy oh boy did people ask for it. Now, a mild disclaimer for this video: I'm only going to be teaching the technical bits and maybe a couple applications, but really all you have to remember is that secret entrances, they are only limited by your imagination. Literally everything else, they can be done with redstone. No matter what you can think of, it is possible most of the times with redstone. And if you can't think of it, then it's not possible. The first important contraption is this. This is a T flip-flop. Basically, the idea of this is that you can take the output from a button, which, as we know, if you connect to redstone, it gives one output and it turns it on, and then it turns it off. Pretty much what this does instead, it basically turns a button into a lever. You press it once, and on one press it gives an output and holds that output, but as soon as you press it again, it no longer does anything. There are about 1,000,001 different ways to build one of these things. This is just one of the ones that I always remember, and pretty much the only one I ever use, just because it's simple and very understandable. The next important circuit is actually a set of circuits. The first one is this. This is called a rising edge monostable circuit. Basically, the idea is that as soon as you press the button or lever or anything that gives an input, as soon as it's turned on, that output will skip through this sand block for a single tick pulse before this piston fires. So this piston will fire after the pulse has already traveled. However, as soon as the sand is up, it'll take longer for the sand to fall down for the pulse to continue. So basically what it does is it gives you a single tick output in the back there. And my mistake, this actually needs a repeater right there for the redstone signal to pass through that block and actually activate the piston over there, as you can see. Now, the other version of this important circuit is called the falling edge monostable circuit. Basically, this is the exact same thing as the rising edge monostable circuit. The only difference is that instead of a output on the input of the button, instead it gives a one-tick pulse on the output. Basically, all you have to do is just reverse it with a redstone torch here, which makes that on all the time. So if we press the button, you can see it doesn't do anything on the input, but it does do something on the output because it is reversed with the torch. Okay, so those are all for just timings and things. Those are more of the big brain confusing things that probably didn't make any sense if you're new to redstone. Don't worry about that too much. That's really only for super complicated things like my little thing where, for example, I believe it's called an ABBA circuit, where basically on the opening sequence of a door you have to have one thing activate first, say A, and then you have to have B activate. But on the closing, you have to have B activate and then A activate. Pretty much, it's the idea which is built by this system over here, where when you press the button one time, the T flip-flop then goes down and activates the system, and we have a rising edge and a falling edge monostable circuit that separate into two things. And basically, the only difference between the two is that, first off, they activate on every other button press. They swap, but the only reason to do that is to have a different amount of delay, meaning you can create a ABBA circuit, which causes something to activate at a different time the second time you press the button. But enough with the confusing redstone, now let's get on to some fun things. So first off, a double piston extender. Now, the basic idea with a double piston extender, they're actually really simple. As you can see, this is about seven total placements of a block. All of these pieces are required, even the floor pieces, because obviously you have to have a thing to move, and then this is required for the signal to transfer to this piston when this piston is here. But pretty much the idea is you press the button, it pushes that whole bit up, and then it just does a cool little repeating scenario where different activations and observations with the observer cause everything to react at the same time. And this has to be at 3 ticks, by the way. 4 ticks. I get those mixed up. And this, of course, is tileable, so you can have double extenders there, making it work. So now I'm going to introduce some pretty common different door styles. So this, I'm not actually entirely sure on the name of this. I'm pretty sure it's either called a flush piston door or a jeb door. I think it just depends on the name. I'm not really entirely sure. But the idea with this is that you have a door that will pull back and out to the side. And to do that, what you need to do is have, first off, the piston array, as I just showed you. But what you need to do is have the pistons here that are pushed into the center, those always have to activate first. So to do that, we need to have a delay going into the pistons here. That way these always activate last. And then we just go ahead and have our input. Oops, forgot the redstone. And of course you'd want this to be a lever, actually. And there you go. The door then opens up, and actually you're going to want that delay a little bit higher, otherwise sometimes it can lag out and break the whole thing. That's kind of the only mess up with Redstone, is it breaking itself. Other than that, timings are just annoying. Other than that, of course, if you don't mind having something a little bit less hidden, for example, say you have a cave face and it looks something like this on the outside, you can just go ahead and block it off with something like that, you know, where it opens up, but when it's closed it just kind of looks like a interesting corner of a cliff face. And to build this, it's basically just redstone leading into dual pistons on both sides. This is the basic 2x2 door that I would assume most people can figure out with a little bit of brain thinking, even if you're completely new to redstone. Now on to the almost final part of this video is the activators. Now, so we've covered circuits, we've covered types of doors, or the basic types of doors, and now we are going to do the last important part, which is activators. Now, the activators are going to be what causes your door to open. There are, once again, about 1,000,001 different ways you could activate this. You can use anywhere from hoppers and minecarts to lecterns and comparators. There are just 1,000,000 different ways to do this, but I'm going to show you here a couple of the different ones that I like to commonly use. Starting with the basic hopper detector. Now, if you don't know how comparators work, I would seriously recommend looking into it. They're super useful, but I remember even for me, when I was starting to learn redstone, it took me forever to fully understand a comparator. Basically what a comparator does is it detects if a block has something in it. So if you have a hopper and you put something in it, it's going to detect it. However, that was in there for such a short amount of time that it didn't detect it. More tick and timing things with redstone to explain there, but pretty much the idea here with this system is that you drop an item. Hoppers, if you didn't know, they can pick anything up through anything that's less than half of a block. So a half slab, this is not a whole block, so it will pick it up and it'll take an output. I am not entirely sure why that wasn't working. A second ago it was. I think my redstone is just wired up weird here. Oh, my bad. Comparators only give a 1 block output, so you gotta extend that with a repeater. My bad. But if you put a block there, you'll see it extends the piston, and it's giving itself a loop there. But then over here, I've just gone ahead and set up a quick little system here. You can copy this anywhere you want with any dropper or dispenser, preferably droppers, so if TNT goes into it, it doesn't explode. But basically what this does is it creates a loop so long as there's something inside of this dropper, and it'll spit your item that you drop in to activate it back out at you. And then you have an activator right there. And of course, another addition to this, if you know how to make sorting systems, you can put that in one of these and then take the comparator output from the hopper of the item you want sorted to use, and that creates a keycard system where only a certain item with said name will activate the system, and you can do that and then have both of the outputs, either the sorted item or the junk, both of them just come right back to this dropper here and dispense back up to the player. Another classic entrance I like to use on occasion, I actually haven't used this one in a while, but it is just a super simple one. The only problem is you can see down below this cauldron here, but you can actually change that if you are willing to do the extra work to have a piston extend to cover that up. Basically, the idea here is if you take water and you put it in here, this will activate, and actually I had it closed by accident. But basically, if we go ahead and swap the water out of this, the comparators will detect it. You want to make sure to have a comparator there and a comparator there. That way it will always detect it whether it's open or closed. And then we can go ahead and open and close this using redstone comparators. Also, for being honest here, that thing is technically actually an entire door in itself, but you get the idea. It's just a little demonstration of how simple you can just use a comparator connected to like a chest or something, and it'll still give an output. And then, of course, there is the classic old hoe switch. Now this, you just take the hoe, and the piston redoes that, and you can take an output from the back here. Pretty much what this is just an observer, which detects when you turn the dirt block into a farmland block, activates the piston to turn it back into a dirt block, and gives you an output in the process. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we can never forget of this one. This one's something super special. You know, you really don't have to make things complicated. You don't have to make some fancy schmancy hopper detector or farmland detector or whatever it is you want to do. You could just simply flip the positivity, or whatever you want to call it, of the redstone on a simple 1x2 door in a cliff face, and then just not even have an activator. You just have to know where to put the lever and activate it, or deactivate it, or activate it, or deactivate it. And the best part, all this takes is a torch and redstone dust. That easy. Okay, so now I know you're yelling at me, you know, CubeMan, you're explaining all these fancy, cool redstone things to me, but when am I ever going to use them in a secret door? You gotta show me that cool stuff. Well, now I'm going to show you guys a couple different applications of all of these things. I've got a couple builds from the past that I've done, or in the present, that I am going to show you, and how these different redstone circuits and contraptions really actually apply to all of this. Alright, so we're back on the Season 1 world, and you know what's funny is I just remembered this is actually where I recorded my my boat glitch video intro. That's kind of funny, but no, so we're back on the Season 1 world. Any of you who've been watching me for a while will remember this build. This was the keycard system to the GG Corp tower. Now, this, obviously, as you can tell, this isn't actually like a secret entrance. It's a pretty noticeable entrance. But the point still stands that it uses a lot of the things that I explained earlier. So in this system, we had keycard entries here. We would put our keycard in, and if we go down into the basement, you can see there is a bunch of things happening. A lot of this I actually haven't explained yet, and I'm not going to, because it is somewhat not relevant, but pretty much the idea is you have some pretty recognizable things here, like this. This is a double piston extender here for the 2-block side doors. And this here is a triple piston extender, which I decided not to explain for some reason, but it's really just kind of a stacked up double piston extender in a way. But then we come over to here and we can see we have that same exact system where you have a input from a hopper, and then I actually had a sorted system here, and so it took different outputs. So this was for the member cards, and this was for the staff cards. But then they would also each give a different output. Now the staff keycard would give an output to open all 3 of these doors, whereas the member keycard would give an output just to open the side doors. And these things are actually pulse extenders, which I probably should have explained, but you know, I've already started recording and I'm too lazy to. Basically what they do is they extend a pulse length. There are a bunch of different ways to do it. Just look up Redstone pulse extender and you'll find probably one of Mumbo Jumbo's high-low tech videos from back in 2013. And actually that's all I've got to show on this part of the video, but oh my gosh, I just had to give you guys this beautiful overview. I still loved this. This was our Season 1 shopping district. It's not even that big. We didn't have any rules on how you could buy land or anything. It was just there. You could just build a shop. And I loved just the close quarters where you could have, you know, there are 3 shops within 10 blocks of each other. But I'll stop ranting on about Season 1 and let's go ahead and show you another example. And funny story, I was actually going to go onto the Season 2 world, but the world download takes a very long time, and I don't have a lot of time to record this video, so if you want to go see that, it's pretty much the exact same thing as the GG Tower keycard system, but it's on the shoulder of Cyborg's big statue of himself from Season 2. If you want to go check that out, come join our Discord server, I'll link it in the description, and I've got a download link there. But now that I think about it, that is kind of a repetitive system. It's basically the exact same thing as the GG Towers, like I said. So instead I decided to come here and show you guys just a quick little application on the server right now. So this is the Hobbit Hole. I believe I've shown this a few times. This is where the PvP event happened. So this should be safe to show on camera, but pretty much just something as simple as this. Or even not even having the button there. You could just not have the button there and have a button that you place on the wall here and press it. And it opens a door that otherwise you would never have even noticed because it pulls back even 2 blocks. Little things like that. They're just so very simple. It's literally just a button that goes to 2 pistons. So with that, I am going to give the final example, which actually has a lot of the circuits in them that I explained. These last few examples didn't really have too many of those circuits I was explaining, but this does. And this is my secret entrance in my house now. I know what you're going to say, it's not going to be secret anymore. Well, I already posted it on Reddit, and if we're being honest, I literally just have a boat back there. And I have a boat back there on slabs because I wanted a secret cool room to have my secret glitch thing that everybody knows about. I don't know, I just felt like doing Redstone because I hadn't done Redstone this season. But pretty much the idea with this is you go ahead and throw an item on the stair here. We've got one of those hopper detector activators, which then shoots the item back up through the floor, and then opens this door. Now this is where the fun stuff starts. As you can see here, we've got a 1x2 flush door, this, or a jeb door, I don't remember what they're called. This pulls out and back, or in and out to the sides, however you want to call it. And then we've got a single piston here. This isn't any of the circuits I was showing, this is just a basic piston that pushes out, and this block here goes up 2 blocks from a double piston extender in the floor. So if we go into spectator here, we can see there is a lot of redstone back here, but it can be summed up with all of those things I explained. So this is a piston here. Actually, let's not stop there. So we start with the activation system, basic dispenser return system, like I was explaining. I don't know why I put a chest there, that's really not necessary. But I think I was running out of space or something weird, and it was activating stuff I didn't want. So pretty much after that, that sends out a signal through here. Don't mind the button, that was just a test button that I forgot to take out. And sends the signal all the way back here, and it splits it into 2 places. It gives a long delay to this double piston extender, which moves that block up. And then it gives another to this T flip-flop here, which I've explained before. It's hard to see it, but this is one of those cauldron T flip-flops. It goes up here, it splits again. One of those activates the flush door, because the flush door only requires on or off, that's all. But then it comes over here, and this is where the fun stuff starts, where it splits into 2 things, and it creates that monostable ABBA clock, like I was explaining before, where it gives a different delay depending on whether it's the first or second activation of the system. And like I said, this room literally just has a boat in it for that boat glitch. I actually haven't been able to do that glitch for a while lately, just because I kind of lost the rhythm of it, and I think the server's been performing really well, so it's even harder to desync yourself. But if you don't know what I'm talking about with the boat thing, go watch my video. It's called Flying on the Raincraft SMP server or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I'll link it in the description or on the screen here or something, I don't know. But yeah, that is pretty much the entire basics of secret redstone doors. I hope you enjoyed. If you're going to go ahead and rant on about something I missed, don't bother, because I know I did. And like I've said, there are infinite different ways to make a secret entrance. It is limited by your imagination. Yes, that's the word. It is limited by your imagination. You can every scenario is different, unless you're building a copy of a house or something. Every single scenario is different. This staircase here, I've never had anything like this, because this is a staircase with a block there, and 2 blocks here that I had to move. It's different every time. So I hope this tutorial at least helps you somewhat understand how to do the basic circuitry of a redstone door, and I hope you enjoyed. If it didn't make any sense, I would highly, highly recommend going and checking out some old redstone tutorials from back in the day. For example, I will link this one in the description. There's a playlist that Mumbo Jumbo did 7 years ago, before he was even super, super big on YouTube, but it's called High-Low Tech. Basically explains all of the different types of redstone basics, even down to like RS NOR latches and things that I didn't explain in this that are used for even more complicated doors. But yeah, hopefully this guide led you to at least somewhat understanding, if not mastery, of this topic, and I will see you guys later.